All right, so Africa has increasingly become a hotspot for investment, attracting both local and international investors due to its growing economies, youthful population, and untapped markets. As the continent continues to experience rapid urbanization and infrastructure development, sectors such as renewable energy, fintech, and healthcare are emerging as key areas of opportunity for investment. Let's talk to Dr. Hubert Dansono as the CEO, Africa Investor Group, an institutional investment holding platform. Great to have you on the show.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely I know the institutional investors are looking for the next opportunities in Africa at this point. So talk to me about what you're seeing with Africa's renewable energy industry, especially when it comes to solar, wind, and hydroelectric power.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's really great to be able to talk to you about these types of issues from the Sustainable Markets Initiative's Terracotta Roundtables and exhibition in London. And this is really a platform where you're seeing CEOs from all around the world really focused on how we can scale our institutional allocations to renewable energy assets, green industrialization. And guess what? Africa is the talk of this entire summit. The continent really has some of the best and highest quality critical minerals. It has the best and the highest quality superabundant natural capital, valued at about $4.3 trillion. And the missing link to date has really been the ability to be able to align that with institutional portfolios, pension fund assets, sovereign wealth fund assets, to really be able to unlock the unlimited potential for green industrialization in Africa. So naturally, renewable energy forms a centerpiece of this dynamic, and we are really excited about the conversations that are taking place at this Sustainable Markets Initiative's Terracotta Roundtable and exhibition. So pension funds on the continent are really increasing allocations to renewable energy right across the continent. It's a long-term strategic asset. And one of the things that we've heard here a lot at this SMI Terracotta Roundtable and exhibition is the extent to which, because we have now been engaged, because we have new institutional investor-public partnerships with governments, we're actually rapidly driving down the cost of these technologies. So from an energy perspective, renewables is now much more cost competitive with the fossil fuels, and you're beginning to see all of these different things compounding and coming together. So I think the direction of travel is very clear. Renewable energies is really leading the way, and the continent is essentially repositioned with the right type of capital behind it to become the world's global clean energy manufacturing hub. So very exciting times for us, very exciting times.
Right, and I know one other segment investors are quite excited about. I know that's fintech, and we've seen, in Africa that's been growing rapidly, especially with the rise of, mobile payments and which countries, and regions are, pushing to expand more. But where are you seeing the opportunities now? Do investors still find fintech, very interesting at this time?
No, fintech is absolutely a very powerful opportunity for us as a young continent. You know that we're going to have probably about 50% of the world's workforce by the end of the century, and we're a growing market. So fintech is really exciting. But I think if you then begin to look at some of the artificial intelligence and the renewable energy constellations in terms of how we are really developing green industrial cities. And Nigeria is really going to be one of the leaders in this, actually, where you can take an existing special economic zone, or you can take a new area, designate it, put some real incentives in place, and really use this green industrial cities model where you can actually start having renewable energy and green industrial REITs and trusts. You can really start putting up AI-sensitive, sustainable data centers at scale. And that's going to continue to drive this innovation that Africa is really going to be playing a leading role in, particularly with our young, innovative population. So fintech is absolutely a trend, and it's a growing trend. We've already seen a number of acorns and unicorns in Nigeria and across the continent. But I think the one to really watch is this ability to be able to put together sustainable AI data centers that can really drive the sustainability as well as renewable energy rollout and really fuel the fintech growth across the continent.
Right, and definitely we can't have any conversation these days without mentioning artificial intelligence. So beyond renewable energy, fintech, healthcare, and AI, what sectors do you see in Africa that offer, attractive investment opportunities that, some of the big investors are not really looking at right now?
Well, I think they should just be looking at the ones that we've spoken about here. That's why you've got the world's leading CEOs, over 300 CEOs that have come from around the world to the Sustainable Markets Initiative's Terracotta Roundtable and Exhibition. The game is low carbon economy transition. The game is green industrialization. And I think, everyone on the continent and around the world is very well poised to be able to take full advantage of that. Of course, there will be some sort of opportunities that emanate from that. But if you really want to get to scale, if you really want to be right at the forefront of this incredible investment opportunity and transition, it's really got to be about sustainable investing and green industrialization and driving renewables and artificial intelligence on and from the African continent.
Right, and I'm talking about the African continent. Some investors might not know where to, drive funds into. What do you think should be the factors that investors should consider when choosing, an African country or regions for investment? We know issues of when it comes to political stability, infrastructure, and regulation. Most importantly.
Yeah, I think all of these things are critical. I think investing in Africa should be exactly the same as investing in any other part of the world. You would look at the regulation, you look at the strength of your partners, you'd look at the legal and regulatory frameworks, and the extent to which you fully understand the sector and the strategy of which you're allocating to. And the good news is, as far as renewable energy and green industrialization is concerned, Africa has got this new approach, which is called an institutional investor public partnership. So it's really much more suited for long-term capital to align, almost call it Africa's green investment deal, which was driven by a number of heads of state, which really looks at how green industrialization can align with long-term asset allocation. And it's got its own legal and regulatory framework, which investors can basically fine-tune to their own institutional mandates. So I think there's a lot of flexibility you're seeing around the world. There's a real competitive tendency around capital. Capital will go to where it feels welcome. And what we're seeing now is, as opposed to what we had before, which was much more of a development ecosystem of sort of the World Bank, multilateral development banks, our governments are now working much more strategically with the institutional investment community around sustainability, which is the global trend to get those large institutional allocations to drive those multi-trillion-dollar nationally determined contribution investments that we need. One, for our transition, and two, to increase our participation in the $10 trillion and growing global green industrial economy, which hitherto we've been at a very low percentage. But as we add value to that and we increase our share of that global green industrial economy, that obviously provides a big kicker for institutional allocations, which we haven't seen before.
Right, I guess the Terracotta roundtables and exhibition, that ends tomorrow, and definitely I know you're expecting incredible things with all the CEOs and government officials meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was Dr. Hubert Danso, CEO, Africa Investor Group. Thank you for coming on today.